And then maybe the most difficult team to get to a top three is the San Francisco 49ers. So I'll give you Trevor's. It's Trent Williams, Fred Warner, and Nick Bosa. So that excludes Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Javon Hargrave. It excludes those guys. I think if you looked at the Niners last year, they may have had a top 5 receiver, the best left tackle, a top 3 tight end, the best running back, top 3 edge rusher. All of those things are true. The best linebacker in Fred Warner. So where do you land on the Niners and who should be on their top 3 list here? There's a lot of options, probably the most in the NFL.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. Like, they might have legitimately the best left tackle in the NFL, the best
fullback too, by the way.
The best running back in the NFL, the best fullback in the NFL, the best tight end in the NFL, the best edge rusher in the NFL. If you think Nick Bosa, let's just say Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, these guys are all kind of at the same level. In any given year, Nick Bosa is capable of being the best of those 4. And Max Crosby, if you want to make it a 5, like they might have the best player at like 6 different positions. That's crazy. And I think that almost needs to be the standard you're setting then. Like, Trent Williams, I think, is unquestionably still the best left tackle in the NFL. He's one of your 3, right?
Yeah.
I think
I'm good with Trent Williams. Yes.
I think Christian McCaffrey is probably unquestionably the best running back in the NFL at this point as well, at which point he takes spot number 2. And then I think Fred Warner is also unquestionably the best off-the-ball linebacker in the NFL. That's spot 3, which leaves Nick Bosa, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy, and anybody else. Deebo.
Man, I think I would go Trent Williams and McCaffrey for sure, and then I'm debating Nick Bosa versus Fred Warner.
Yeah.
And I would probably lean Bosa. And I mean, Travarius Ward's really good too, but he's not even close to the top on this list.
Yeah, Travarius Ward is a high-end Pro Bowl cornerback who's literally not even in the conversation.
And if we said this 2 years ago, you would say Deebo Samuel's actually the engine for this offense because he could play running back and do all these different things until they traded for McCaffrey and just said, okay, we don't actually need that from Deebo anymore. And then Brandon Ayuk last year, played like a top 5 wide receiver. He was open nonstop using his route running and just like a classic receiver role, which is not what Deebo does. So tough options here for the Niners.
I think Deebo absolutely deserves to still be in that conversation because he's a unique weapon, right? He might not be the best wide receiver in the NFL, but he's one of one. There's no other Deebo Samuel. Like, we are now talking about guys, when you look at the draft, like Malachi Corley, right? People are like, can he be the new Deebo? I mean, the answer is almost certainly no, because there is no other, like, nobody else has one of those guys. So for that reason alone, like, you almost can't judge the offensive talent by numbers, because it's like George Kittle, right? Kittle, when they run the offense through George Kittle, he can put up like record-setting tight end numbers over a season. But it only happens when Deebo gets hurt and, in those games where they sort of pivot and feed it to George Kittle. But I think in any given year, if they just decided, like if Kyle Shanahan just decided, you know what, this year, George Kittle is going to be the number 1 weapon in this offense, right? He would put up like 1,500 yards and break tight end records. So when you look at like how good a player is he, I mean, he's that good a player. He can be the best tight end in the NFL. He can be like an all-time great tight end if we just chose to feed the offense through him. I think that is also true for Christian McCaffrey, for Deebo Samuel, maybe for Brandon Ayuk as well. And they're just all on the offense at the same time, and you need to figure out which one you think is the most pure, talented, just overall best player of the group.
And then let me just add this. For all the Brock Purdy discourse that we've had through the years, and okay, is he really a 110 passer rating guy, and how much of that is Kyle Shanahan, and did he step into this incredible system with all these players that you're mentioning? He's still a guy that graded at 87 last year in year 2 as a late round draft pick. So if we're being when you're in it, Sam, like when we're in the week to week and Purdy's putting up these ridiculous numbers and it's like, well, he just threw a screen to Debo and took it to the house. Yeah, that's all true. But if you look at the totality of Purdy, I thought he played better football down the stretch, tapered off a little bit in the playoffs for sure. But it's still a year two player who graded well. And if he was a first round pick, you would just say, oh, yeah, took great strides in year two. We would talk about him similar to how we talked about Jordan Love, right? Did Jordan Love figure it out to become a superstar? And is he going to be able to maintain that in year two or year two as a starter? Could you have that same conversation about Purdy? Can he maintain what he's been doing? Because what he's been doing, while maybe the stats are inflated because of all the supporting cast and Kyle Shanahan, he still played really well. I'm not saying he's in this top three mix, but he's the one facilitating all these other elite players, and he's done a really nice job of it.
And his two worst games last year, and the only two games graded below average, were rainy games, right? Bad weather games. Like literally, apparently, the only thing that can slow down Brock Purdy is rain. So if you throw those out, throw them out, didn't count, rain. The dude literally played like an all-pro. Now, in a different offense, maybe you would have an argument for him being in their top three players, even with this debate over exactly what he is. Obviously, that's influenced by the players on this offense. But yeah, like we are debating whether Nick Bosa or Fred Warner is left off the list, unfortunately. And that's with a singular weapon like Deebo Samuel, like an acknowledgement. Deebo definitely doesn't make the list. And which one of Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, each of whom could be Defensive Player of the Year in any given season, doesn't make the list? With that standard, Brock Purdy's not even close.
No, he's not. I just wanted to highlight the fact as a year two quarterback facilitating this whole thing. Good position to be in, I think, for the Niners. So
this is by far
team building.
That's by far the highest standard of, like, we're almost all the way through 32 teams in the NFL, right? We've got like three left. That's by far the highest standard that's been set by any of the 32 teams.